So we're at the Bendigo Mortuary Chapel here, a centrepiece here to the Bendigo Cemetery. Fantastic, beautiful old building. The chapel was originally constructed in 1872 by George Pallet after he won a tender for £1,087. It's been used fairly consistently the Bendigo Cemetery here up until about the 1930s, when the undertakers really started to utilise their own chapels, and so the usage here of the mortuary chapel really died off around that period. Let's go and have a look inside. It was built to help some of the mourners get out of the hot weather or the cold weather. This being a multi-denominational cemetery, it wasn't specific to any denomination, but yeah, used for any services for any denomination. But unfortunately, since the 1930s, very little has been conducted in here, sort of haphazardly, people on request. Since then, we've had some weddings here in more recent times. We've got a wedding booked in coming up in the next year. We've had about 2 years ago, had a wedding conducted here on the 31st of December at midnight. Someone wanted to bring in the new year with their marriage. There was a fairly significant wedding that occurred in the 1990s. Unfortunately, whether that has brought some attention to it, there was some significant vandalism occurred sort of the mid-late 1990s. In 1999, there was some funding obtained to do some repairs to the mortuary chapel, mainly the stained glass windows that sit on the northern and southern side of the building here were repaired, and some minor works were done to the roof as well. For the last couple of years, we've really been trying to find some funding. We've been applying for grants and the like, but unfortunately to date been unsuccessful. Really, we would love to bring this building back up to speed again. There's quite a substantial amount of work that needs to be done to it, but we'd love to get it back to a point where it can be used by the Bendigo community and hold services in here for deceased loved ones. Everybody prior to the 1930s, certainly buried here in Bendigo, would have come through this chapel. We've got George Lancel only a stone's throw here from the chapel that's buried here, quite a significant person to Bendigo's history, a mining magnate. We've got, just at the other side of the chapel, ex-mayors of Bendigo buried out there as well. So just to the northern side of the Bendigo Chapel here, we have perhaps our most famous person in the Bendigo Cemetery here is George Lancel, the Quartz King of Bendigo, buried here in 1906. There's been a number of burials occurred here, with the last one occurring in 2007 being George's grandson, George Lancel. So this is one of two knighted people we have buried in the Bendigo Cemetery. This is Sir John Quick, also known as the Father of Federation. He was the first federal member of the Parliament of Bendigo, and instrumental in Edmund Barton and the election of him as the first Prime Minister of Australia. We're at Captain Robert Neville's grave here. Captain Robert Neville was famous. He ferried many of our troops between 1914 and 1919 from New Zealand and Australia across to Europe to fight the battle over there. He got to Bendigo. He retired up here as a Sunday school teacher after his duties transporting the Anzacs were done. Situated up here on the hill on the northern side, away from the chapel, is a monument to Burke and Wills. Now, at the time when the sad news came through of Burke and Wills' passing, the current sexton, Thomas Besnard, was a lifelong friend of Burke and raised some funds from the Bendigo community to establish this memorial in honour of these two gentlemen.